Pat Robertson is like a key figure in the development of the Christian coalition through the 70s and 80s in the US, which became actually a powerful political force. He laid the groundwork through a media platform, which was the Christian Broadcasting Network. He started a university called Regent University. He actually even took over the law school at Oral Roberts University, so there could be so there could be lawyers who practice law with Christian values. And there's a number of lawyers today, including like Trump's personal lawyer, Jay Sekulow, who went through that law school, Dan Cannon, who ran for governor of Maryland last year, who was also a January 6th participant, went to that law school. And so, Pat Robertson actually did a lot to lay this groundwork for the Christian coalition and today's culture wars, the overturning of Roe v. Wade, the anti-LGBTQ culture war legislation that we're seeing, lots of anti-discriminatory laws which are being challenged in the courts. That's a lot of that is actually coming from this sort of far right Christian coalition, sector of right-wing politics. And then Pat Robertson in 1988 did really well when he ran for president. He did well, particularly in the Iowa caucuses and in the South. And after that, sort of set himself up as a kingmaker in the GOP, which sort of solidified his position of power. I just want to sort of acknowledge this. There's some other things I'm going to say too, but I was going to see if Bob had any comment about Pat Robertson.
Just a couple. Robertson, if you look at the kind of stuff that DeSantis and Abbott, in particular, the most fetid of these folks are saying today, it comes out of Robertson's playbook, right? Where feminists and lesbians who practice witchcraft and want to kill their husbands and all this crazy stuff, immigrants, abortions are the reason for all that happens in America. After 9/11, Robertson and Jerry Falwell basically said that, God was punishing the United States because of gay rights and abortions and feminism and all that kind of stuff. So he really did have an impact. I want to do just the only thing I really want to say is speak to that presidential campaign, because we just got done saying Cornel West shouldn't run, and we talked about Pat Robertson running. There's a significant difference there, because by the time Pat Robertson ran for president, he had already created, he was very well known, probably better known than Cornel West is today. But more importantly, he had created a really solid and national organization. The far right, the new right, whatever you want to call it, from the 60s on, knew how to organize. And so the CBN and the 700 Club and Robertson's various enterprises were really well established by the time he ran for president. He wasn't running for president kind of just as this guy who happened to be, out there in the media. He was running, as somebody who had helped organize a really powerful national network that by the late 80s, if not had taken over the Republican Party, really has significant levels of influence within it, right? And so there's a huge difference. I mean, Cornel West doesn't have this kind of organizational background. He doesn't have these organizations behind him. He doesn't have a daily TV show that goes out to millions based around this organizing principle that God is going to punish you if you don't do what he wants or what the GOP wants or whatever. So, Robertson's presidential campaign probably did help the movement, but only because he had spent so many years before that doing organization at a local level. And by that time, by the late 80s, when Robertson was running, people associated with him were already, being elected, and had been for quite some time, actually, to school boards, to election boards, to local offices, and were making their way up the food chain to Congress and to Senate seats. So, I don't think they're really comparable at all. I think, if West had that kind of organizational background, then it might help a little. But, and then Robertson, keep in mind too, he did win Iowa or New Hampshire. Was it Iowa in 88? He won in Iowa, right? But then his campaign fizzled and he just kind of got out after that. And, at that point, no one ever said, Pat Robertson is the reason George Bush lost or anything like that, because he ran